the first Western or British battle against Germany, which Britain won, was fought in Libya, at a place called Alum. Britain instituted a kingdom in Libya after the war. King Farouk became the ruler of Libya. Now, in 1969, a young colonel, and this is where we have to give you credit where credit is due. The man has gone crazy. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. But a young, idyllic colonel took over and overthrew the king. Gaddafi took over the country. He proclaimed himself the new people's person on his way to becoming a dictator. But there's one thing he did do. He discovered that Libyan oil or an oil field had been there for a long time. Now, he discovered that he had so much money, Libya had so much money, that he could even use it in the government revenue meaningfully. And he didn't want to do it with so much money. And his people at that time, I think the population was 2.5 million. So he said, I'm going to stop exporting oil altogether until we figure out what we're going to do with this. Now, with that statement, he captured the imagination of the third world. So he sparked the organization which came to be known as
Oil and Petroleum
Exporting Countries, which became a cartel for controlling and setting prices for oil internationally. That's the only positive thing I can say about this man.
So you're asking why do we invest more in the countries with more oil?
Right.
I agree with what Molly said. Like we're an economy that depends on oil, so I feel like, and plus we want to get oil as cheap as we can. So like if we protect the countries that have the most oil, like to stop them from so like they wouldn't need to like engage in any wars in any other countries, or they wouldn't have to worry about like protection or blah blah blah. We can just like give them those safeguards, and we know that they can constantly give us oil. Not like what Libya did, as Ngoima was saying back then, where they just stopped producing oil, and the prices went up, and then the OPEC was formed. We don't want any of that to happen. We just want everything to be like nice and easy.
Where does our commitment to democracy fit into that?
Well,
it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, I think the countries that don't have, if we're not dependent, if we don't need to be dependent on them, then it's easy to say, oh, they don't have good human rights, we're not going to support them, let's take a stand. But when we really need something that's like, well, maybe we can wait to take that stand until we've got the limit.
Is the relationship moral or economic?
Economic, of course.
Definitely economic.
How do you explain Israel then?
Well, that's a whole different story. I mean, it seems like because it doesn't have to do with the oil at all. So I think it's different.
No, I think in the case of Israel, it becomes very complicated in that America's commitment to Israel has now got, broken English, to a point where Israel is an extension of America. Israel, you cannot touch Israel any more than you can touch Hawaii. No matter, in spite of the fact that they practice a different government and Israel has a better flag. Anytime you attack Israel, you are attacking America's basic commitment, historical moral commitment to it. And I think that Israeli people living in this country, or the Jewish people living in this country, who are more than those who live in Israel, the umbilical cord is so strong that America is committed for foreseeable future to the survival and the economic well-being of Israel.
Is that why Jordan's getting so much money?
Yes, Jordan made a deal with the United States that they are peace with Israel. Egypt is also one of the reasons getting that money. It has made peace with Israel since Carter's time.
Saudi Arabia?
Saudi Arabia, the same. Where do you think today's Saudi Arabia's billions are? It's a kingdom of sand. You cannot just take your dollars and bury those dollars in a sand or put in some bank vault in Saudi Arabia. The same thing is happening, say, with Switzerland. You hear all these millionaires have their money stashed in these banks in Switzerland. But Switzerland is nothing, it's no bigger than Vermont. And it cannot invest that money. And if you take your money there, you still want some interest. You just don't put it there in a bank in Switzerland and hope. Most of that money is in this country, including Saudi Arabia, Libya, Algeria. All that oil money ends up in the only economy that can sufficiently invest it and still have an interest. And that is really the umbilical cord between the oil and finance capital.